Today marks 1 year to the day since the Dunkley by-election that was won by Jody Bellier of the Labor Party. I ran in that by-election, and throughout the whole campaign we heard Albo and all the other Labor crew tell us that Jody Bellier would continue the legacy of Peter Murphy. I called it out at the time and said I thought it was disrespectful and in poor taste to use Peter Murphy's name in that way, and 1 year on it's even worse because they have completely ignored her work on gambling reform. G'day, I'm Heath McKenzie, Australian Democrats candidate for the Senate here in Victoria. Peter Murphy was one of the best local members in the country. Her constituents from across the political divide respected and admired her for the hard work she did in the community, especially given the health struggles she had to endure throughout her time as the federal representative for Dunkley. On the national front, her biggest contribution was the inquiry into gambling harm that she chaired and the subsequent report she tabled that contained 31 recommendations aimed at minimising the harm caused by gambling. That report was tabled in June 2023. That's now 21 months ago. Anthony Albanese claims they've done more than any government since Federation to fix this issue, but in reality he has done bugger all, and there are reasons for that which I'll go into in a sec. But to ignore the 31 recommendations in Peter Murphy's report is a total betrayal of her legacy. I really hope that Jody Bellier can become a good local member one day, but we haven't seen it yet. So how exactly have the Labor Party continued Peter Murphy's legacy since the by-election? Let's look at some details here. So Australia has a massive issue with gambling. Some people enjoy having a punt and they can have fun, control their spend, and not really let it impact their lives. But when we have $25 billion being lost by Australians to different forms of gambling, I think it's time to do something to limit the damage. In Victoria, we didn't have a problem with pokies when I was growing up. Then the state government saw all the buses heading up to the Murray every weekend and they decided they wanted a piece of the action. And now we have pokies in every corner of the state, preying on those who are under the spell of those flashing lights. We Victorians love our sport. Melbourne is still the sporting capital of the world. Unfortunately though, if you want to watch that sport on telly or listen to it on the radio or even just check the scores and stats, you are bombarded with ads from the bookies. Kids are exposed to gambling ads, normalising sports betting. They're being conditioned to think about first goal scorer or if their team can cover the line, and not allowing them to just watch the game and enjoy their favourite players running around. Now, when you have Sportsbet throwing the Communications Minister Michelle Rowland fancy birthday lunches, one can't be too surprised we aren't seeing any action on this issue. Sportsbet alone have over 70 lobbyists in Canberra. And just before Anthony Albanese took his size 9 Julius Marlowe's and booted the gambling can fairly down the highway, Sportsbet slipped a tidy 88 grand into the Labor Party bank account. And suddenly, it all starts to make sense. And if you think the coalition are going to do any more than Labor in this area, look at the 60 grand that Sportsbet also donated to the Libs and the 15 grand they gave to the Nats. Do you think Sportsbet gave that money out of the goodness of their hearts? Because I don't. Reforming the gambling space is the right thing to do. Much of the money being lost to gambling is coming from those who can least afford it. We are in the midst of a cost of living crisis. I reckon some of that $25 billion could help combat the rising grocery prices just a little bit. The average loss per adult is over $1,500 a year. In reality, a heap of punters are losing way more than that. We're not proposing a ban on gambling, just get it out of kids' faces. Stop dangling the carrot in front of people fighting gambling addictions, and bring some transparency so that wagering companies are held accountable. Albo, if you're listening, there are 3 reasons to actually do something here. Firstly, it's the right thing to do and Australians are relying on you to make a change. Secondly, Peter Murphy deserves to have her legacy honoured by your government, and you can do that by adopting her 31 recommendations to reduce gambling harm. And last but not least, prove to the Australian people that you actually care about transparency and stop letting wagering lobbyists set public policy in this area. You're staring down the barrel of a one-term Prime Ministership. If protecting Peter Murphy's legacy isn't enough to jolt you into action, perhaps protecting your own legacy is. To quote a great Victorian, John Kanga Kennedy Sr., who coached my beloved Roos and apparently did all right at Hawthorn too, Albo, Do something. Don't think, don't hope, do.
Authorised by Acre Street, Australian Democrats, Nairn.